Emperor Pavan Pinkalanolantia, cold and ruthless. He possessed unparalleled military might, striking fear into the heart of the entire empire. And he was also the protagonist of this BL novel. He was a tyrant who, in order to marry another man, killed his own empress. People praised the emperor's love, calling it the romance of the century. What others saw as a sordid affair, he saw as love. A male guard of his beloved stole the heart of the already married emperor. He framed the loyal empress, imprisoned her in a high tower, and left her to starve to death. And outside the tower, the emperor sent all who opposed him to the guillotine. He and his new love had a happy ending. The entire empire blossomed, and the people celebrated under the sun. This was the ending of the novel, and I became the empress in this crazy story. I remembered the car accident from my past life. When I opened my eyes, I was here, sitting on a magnificent bed. My fingertips lightly touched the sheets. A week has passed. Everything still feels a bit unfamiliar, but I have already understood my situation. I'm going to die soon. Because of my husband, the man who belatedly discovered his own sexual orientation. Fortunately, the original story doesn't seem to have started yet. Since there's still some time before my death, I might as well think calmly. According to Vermal's memories, this isn't the imperial palace, but a remote royal villa. She pushed open the window, a gentle breeze caressing her face. Vermal came here under the pretext of recuperating after a miscarriage. But that was just an excuse. To be more precise, this hot-tempered empress was exiled. She sighed softly. Memories surfaced. The original novel didn't go into detail, but Empress Vermal was quite a crazy character. She would publicly humiliate noble ladies, making them never dare to appear at balls again. She would also order a maid who accidentally stepped on her dress to get on a horse, and then set that horse's tail on fire. Vermal's evil deeds. She even celebrated a man's assassination as a miracle. I was a bit surprised. Vermal's true personality was so different from how she was described in the novel. She changed completely after the miscarriage. Her hand rested on her lower abdomen. A strange pain washed over her. Vermal's arrogant pride completely collapsed at that moment. Vicious whispers swirled around her. Is the Empress sick? For the sake of an heir, please bring in a gentle concubine. To be infertile and still occupy the Empress's position. How shameless. At Vermal's most desperate moment, the Emperor came to her side. He looked at her. Your body is not well. You shouldn't always lock yourself in your room. The Emperor extended his hand. Would you like to accompany me to the ball? Their fingertips touched, like a faint spark igniting in the darkness. Blooming red roses surrounded them. The two spun on the dance floor, their steps elegant and flawless. The guests whispered among themselves. Has the Empress regained His Majesty's favor? Her dancing is still so captivating. Vermal looked up at the Emperor, her heart filled with hope, thinking she could find happiness again. A glint of malice flashed in his eyes. Those were dance steps she could once perform with her eyes closed. But at this moment, she suddenly faltered. She fell heavily to the ground. Her hope shattered along with the fall. Whispers echoed through the hall. The Emperor looked down at her, his face cast in a cold shadow. See, I told you not to push yourself. But that memory was bone-chillingly cold. It was him, the Emperor, who had deliberately tripped Vermal in front of everyone. Her dignity was brutally trampled underfoot. And just like that, she was exiled. It's been a full year since she came to this villa. Soon, the Emperor's guard will die, and a new knight will take his place. The main storyline is about to begin. Before that, I must return to the palace and divorce the Emperor. I clenched my fists. It's the only way to survive. But my stomach growled at the inopportune moment. A flush of heat rose to my cheeks. I'm hungry. I have to find someone to get me something to eat. I walked to the main hall. The hall was empty, right? The maids here never listen to Vermal. They treat the Empress like a stone on the roadside. There's no one around. Do they all run off to play? Dust motes danced in the sunlight. They couldn't even be bothered to clean. How did that proud Empress endure such treatment? The maids wouldn't neglect their duties without reason, unless it was the Emperor's order. How petty. Forget it. I'll find something to eat myself. I pushed open the kitchen door. A young maid gasped in shock. Your Majesty the Empress, why have you come to the kitchen yourself? This face was unfamiliar. She wasn't in Vermal's memories. Who is she? I said softly, I'm hungry. The maid immediately bustled about in a panic. Oh my goodness, You're hungry. I'll go prepare something right away. She suddenly stopped and spoke with difficulty. Right now, there's only this porridge in the pot. A bowl of thin, watery porridge was placed in front of me. This taste again. How many days in a row have I eaten this? I'm about to throw up. The maid bowed her head deeply. I'm very sorry. I only just arrived. They won't let me near the stove. I didn't know they were feeding you this kind of thing. Looking at her, I thought, she's more naive than I imagined. The maid continued, if you give me some time, I will do my best to prepare the dishes you'd like to eat. I clapped my hands lightly. You passed. What's your name? The maid was stunned for a moment. What did you say? She quickly recovered. My name is Emily. I'm an assistant chef from the palace kitchen. A smile appeared on my face. Very good, Emily. I plan to fire all the maids in this villa. After their positions are vacant, would you be willing to be my personal maid? Emily panicked. But I'm a commoner. I'm not qualified to serve Her Majesty the Empress. It's all right. You can learn the work slowly. I don't have high expectations for newcomers. I rested my chin in my hand and looked at her gently. Decide now. I like you. If you serve me with all your heart, I will be your patron. Emily's eyes lit up. To be by Her Majesty the Empress's side is my honor. Very good. Then go and call for a carriage now. We're returning to the palace immediately. Emily was even more surprised. You mean return to the palace immediately? Then I'll go prepare a meal right away. While you eat, I'll pack your luggage. I stood up and said no need. I'll change my clothes and leave. Throw everything else away. In a dressing room, there was only one outfit that was still presentable. Emily looked at me after I had changed, her eyes full of admiration. But Your Majesty, your beauty is always so radiant. I smiled slightly. Thank you, Emily. She followed behind me, a hint of worry on her face. My only concern is, if the other maids find out I left without permission, will they scold me harshly? I stopped and looked at her. Don't worry. From now on, you're my person. You only need to listen to my orders. A smile returned to Emily's face. Of course, I was overthinking it. Footsteps were heard from outside the door. A voice called out, "The carriage you asked for has arrived." Emily immediately said, "The coachman is here. I'll go and prepare." I looked at the portrait on the wall. It was Pavin and Vermal, the ruler of a great nation resorting to torturing someone with food. How utterly despicable. The Vermal in the original novel died with resentment, but I won't. I'll make him so sick of me that he'll be the one to ask for a divorce. Emily's voice called out. Emily's voice called out, "Your Majesty the Empress. The preparations for departure are complete." I turned around, a relaxed smile on my face. Very good. Let's go. Walking out of the villa's main gate, my stomach was still empty. I remembered there was a city on the way famous for its lamb. I might as well stop by. 2 days later, in the emperor's study at the palace, the emperor was handling state affairs. An attendant burst in frantically. "Your Majesty the Emperor, please forgive my rudeness. Her Majesty the Empress has returned. She is preparing to enter the palace now." The tip of the emperor's pen paused. "The Empress has returned?" He looked at the blonde knight beside him. "Guys, bring the imprisoned maids." The knight asked with a blank expression, "Shall I cut off their heads and present them?" A slight curve appeared on the emperor's lips. "They're the Empress's people. We should ask for her opinion first. Drag them to the Empress's chambers alive." The emperor rested his forehead on his hand. "I will also head to the Empress's palace immediately." The attendant became even more flustered. "Right now, Your Majesty? I'll go and prepare at once." The door closed with a crisp sound. The emperor sat alone on the throne, a playful smile on his lips. "Let me see just how much you've changed, Vermal." The carriage traveled through the woods. Pavin's guard knight will die soon, and Eunice, the one Pavin deeply loves, will appear. Pavin will fall in love with Eunice. He will use my infertility as an excuse to imprison me in a high tower and then kill me. How can I avoid this tragic end? Pavin likes men. Making him fall in love with me is absolutely impossible. Then there's only one way. Before Eunice appears, I have to make Pavin utterly disgusted with me, and then get a divorce. Just thinking about what kind of trouble I can stir up is already making me excited. Emily cast a worried glance from the side. Emily spoke softly. "Excuse me, Your Majesty the Empress." I turned my head. "What is it, Emily?" She held a magnificent golden jewelry box. "I found this while cleaning your room earlier. It looks very valuable, so I didn't dare to throw it away." I took the box. A familiar coldness spread from my fingertips. "This is the jewelry box His Majesty gave me before I went to the villa." The box was filled with brilliant jewels. That gift was like a way to appease me, to make me live quietly. I was annoyed by it and never opened it. There's not a single thing in here that I like. But Emily said, but this is still a token of His Majesty's sincerity. I scoffed. Yes, sincerity is important. I handed the box to Emily. In that case, this is for you, Emily. Emily's eyes widened. Your Majesty the Empress, isn't this the crest of your family, the Ducal House of Tyrone? I smiled and said yes, but you are not allowed to refuse. Even if you refuse, I will still give it to you. As my maid, you should at least have one decent jeweled brooch. Emily accepted it with both hands, tears in her eyes. Thank you for such a precious gift. I looked at her with satisfaction. From now on, just accept everything I give you. I need more people like Emily. I need to build my own support system. That way, when the execution order comes down, Pavin won't be able to touch me. The Empress has returned to the palace. The news spread throughout the entire palace. We welcomed the great Empress of the Empire. Walking into the Empress's palace, the maids were whispering. Not only did she suddenly return, but she also brought a filthy-looking person. Yeah, she doesn't look like she's of noble birth at all. She's lowering the tone of the Empress's chambers. I turned and looked at them coldly. I hear a few little mice squeaking. The maids immediately fell silent. We're sorry. A maid who looked like the head maid stepped forward. Your Majesty the Empress, you must be tired from your journey. Shall I prepare a bath for you? I waved my hand. No, later. I'm waiting for someone. I wonder if he will summon me or come here himself. The teacup touched the saucer with a crisp sound. He couldn't have not heard that I'm back. He should be here soon. The attendant's voice came from outside the door. His Majesty the Emperor has arrived. He really did come himself. The bolt was drawn, and heavy footsteps sounded. Pavin walked in. It's been a while, Empress. Was your journey pleasant? I looked up a little dazed. Wow, the portrait didn't capture his essence at all. If I didn't know what the future held, we could have been a loving couple. What a waste of a handsome face. Pavin spoke again. Did you just get back? I came back to my senses and crossed my legs. Yes, just got back. Stay calm. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Pavin's brow furrowed slightly. Returning so suddenly, you should have sent someone to inform me beforehand. I chuckled lightly. I'm not a child. Do I need permission to come home? Besides, you never care what I do. It doesn't matter even if you embrace another woman. Don't mind me. Just be your usual self. Pavin's voice deepened. What do you mean by that? I closed my eyes, hiding the emotion in them. We are not in that kind of special relationship where we care about each other. Empress. Pavin's voice turned cold. Judging by the Empress's condition, it seems you should have stayed at the villa. An invisible pressure washed over me. Your Majesty, what is this? I smiled and looked him straight in the eye. Since when did I stop being your partner and become an enemy to be eliminated? A distant memory surfaced in my mind. The previous emperor had a son late in life and passed away shortly after Pavin was born. Pavin was very young at the time. The palace burned in a sea of fire. The nobles united and launched a rebellion. They claimed it was better to restore the old republic than to serve an infant monarch. But what kind of person was Pavin? He was a genius swordsman, trained by the Golden Wing Vanguard Knights. He awakened his sword aura at the youngest age in history. He sat on a throne, coldly watching the river of blood, and slaughtered everyone involved in the rebellion. Pavin the Butcher was thus born. He probably killed people with that same expression. A chill ran down my spine. I looked directly at him. My body has recovered. I no longer need to recuperate. So I came home. Do I still need your Majesty's permission? Pavin retorted, your health? I nodded. Yes. My legs are very strong now. I won't fall at a ball anymore. I picked up the jewelry box. I was about to return this to you. It's good that you're here. You can take it with you. Pavin's gaze turned cold. That was a gift for you. I stated that I had no reason to accept it. Take it. A cold aura emanated from him, but I met that chill head on. Your Majesty, please speak more respectfully. Otherwise, people might misunderstand and think we're close. That sentence seemed to sting him. The aura he emitted plunged the entire room into an icy chill. The maids were trembling. I spoke with feigned concern. Calm down, Your Majesty. Everyone is shaking with fear. Pavin pressed his forehead. That's yours. I have no intention of taking it back. I can do whatever I want with it. Is that right? I showed a slight smile. Emily, take this. Emily and the surrounding maids were stunned. What did you say? I said to Pavin, this is mine, so I can do as I please with it, right, Your Majesty? I looked at Emily and said, Emily, what are you doing? I told you to take it. Emily trembled all over. Your Majesty, please retract your command. Pavin sized up Emily. Who is this maid? I answered with a smile. She is the person who will stay by my side from now on. Since she serves me, she must be adorned with jewels. This concerns my reputation. After all, Pavin's gaze sharpened. You're going to keep her by your side? Which family is she from? Emily clasped her hands nervously. I answered for her. She was once a kitchen maid, not from any prestigious family. Pavin said, You're going to make a commoner maid your personal attendant? Pavin scoffed. Huh, very well. The jewels, the maid, do as you please. He turned and walked towards a door. Guys, are you outside? The door was pushed open, and a blonde knight in white armor walked in. Pavin's Gar Knight, Sir Guys. You called for me, Your Majesty? Guys bowed to me. Your Majesty the Empress. It's been a long time. I trust you've been well. I responded with a smile. Yes, thank you, Sir Guys. Are you well? Guys' expression froze instantly, his eyes filled with shock. Just a greeting. Is it that surprising? Wait, this memory is... Vermal holding a carrot cake. Sir Guys, I baked this cake especially for you. You must eat it, forcing someone who hates carrots to eat carrot cake. And another time, is that the Knight Order's brooch? Can I see it? Of course, Your Majesty. Oh dear, what a shame. It seems to be lost. After losing someone else's brooch, she still put on an innocent act. Vermal slapped him. Vermal screamed at Guys. You, a mere guard knight, dare to interfere with how I treat my maids? You have no right to meddle in my affairs. Vermal was truly an out-and-out demon. I didn't do any of it, but I still feel ashamed. No wonder he was so surprised. My behavior is completely different from before. I rested my forehead in my hand. Should I just crawl into the tower myself? Pavin asked, Are you still not feeling well? I'll call a doctor if you need one. This is my chance to get them all at once. I feigned exhaustion. I'm very tired today. Please call the doctor tomorrow. If possible, please let me rest. I understand. But before that, Pavin turned to the knight. Guys, you brought them, didn't you? Guys waved his hand, and several gagged maids were dragged in. They're the maids from the Empress's villa. Guys explained, These women arrived before the Empress returned to the palace. I found it suspicious, so I locked them in the dungeon. I feigned surprise. Is that so? I had no idea. They must have realized I was gone and ran straight back to the palace. Pavin's eyes turned cold. It seems it's true they deserted their posts. This is a serious crime, but they are your attendants. After all, I'd like to hear your thoughts. How do you want to deal with these women? I replied nonchalantly, I don't need them. Besides, they're your people. Why are you asking me? Pavin was somewhat puzzled. My people? I said, yes. They followed your orders to the letter and took very good care of me. Pavin said, I only told them to treat you well. I closed my eyes, burning with rage. Since they carried out your orders so loyally, perhaps you should reward them. After all, it's thanks to them faithfully carrying out your Majesty's order to starve me to death that I've become so thin. I pinched my own wrist and gave a provocative smile. Pavin's face instantly darkened. Guys exclaimed, Your Majesty the Empress. Pavin suddenly grabbed my wrist, his grip so strong that I couldn't help but cry out in pain. Your Majesty, that hurts. Pavin's voice was as cold as ice. I never gave such an order. What's with that expression? I shook off his hand and said coldly, In any case, deal with them as you see fit. I want to rest now. Pavin was silent for a moment. Very well. He turned and ordered guys, throw them back in the dungeon. He looked very angry. But why? The door was slammed shut. I let out a long sigh. Emily quickly came forward. Your Majesty, are you all right? Of course I'm fine, but you must have been terrified. Emily nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. The Emperor is even more frightening than the rumors say. I comforted her. It's all right. I will protect you. And this jewelry box, I'm sincerely giving it to you. These jewels are very valuable, and this gift means I will cherish you as I cherish them. So please accept it. Emily knelt, and tears fell. Your Majesty, thank you so much. My father, Don't cry. People who don't know might think something terrible happened at home. The other maids exchanged glances, the atmosphere a bit awkward. In the study, Pavin said to Guys, don't kill the villa maids. Let them live. Guys was somewhat puzzled. They committed a serious crime. Are you sure, Your Majesty? Tell them the Empress was merciful and spared their lives. A smile appeared on Guys' face. I understand. Are there any other orders? Pavin's gaze darkened. Investigate why the Empress was being starved. Guys hesitated for a moment. Forgive my impertinence, Your Majesty, but did you apologize for what happened at the ball? Pavin said, I gave Vermal the jewelry box. She should have understood that it was an apology, but she doesn't seem to understand. I advise you to apologize properly, so that everyone understands your apology. That way, there will be fewer instances of Her Majesty the Empress being mistreated. Pavin's fingers tapped on the chair. Speaking of which, Guys, you saw the brooch that Maid was wearing, didn't you? Was it the one from the ducal house of Tyrone? Of course I saw it. Guy's expression was a bit complicated. For her to give such a valuable item to a maid. I doubt that it was really a gift from you, Your Majesty. Yes, she used to be the type of person who wouldn't even throw away a candy wrapper. So for Vermal to voluntarily give something away is truly surprising. It seems that contrary to what I thought, Vermal changed a lot during her recuperation. Guys looked at Pavin. I thought you disliked Her Majesty the Empress. Pavin said, I don't dislike her, but I don't love her either. Especially after everything that's happened. But we grew up together. After all, there's still some affection. I just don't want to see her being gossiped about. Guy said, I understand. She's a very charming person. If she could be a little more generous to her subordinates, many people would adore her. Pavin continued to review his documents. There's still a mountain of work to do. You may leave, Guys. Guys was taken aback for a moment. Yes, Your Majesty. Guys backed out, a faint, pleasant smile on his face. I'll take my leave. Pavin put down his pen. It's a good thing for Vermal to be loved by people. But why do I have this strange sense of unease? 3 days later, Emily ran over excitedly. The bath is ready for you. I've even added rose petals. Another maid brought dessert. I thought you might be hungry, so I prepared some dessert. The story of me giving the jewelry box to Emily seems to have spread. Now all the maids are desperately trying to please me. This is exactly what I wanted. They're even more useful than I thought. A male servant stepped forward. Your Majesty, when should I call for the doctor? I put down my teacup. Any time is fine. However, I would like a gynecological specialist to be present. In the original novel, Vermal's infertility was the reason she was imprisoned in the tower. But the bloodline of the Tyrone family possesses physical abilities far beyond ordinary people. It's said that the women of the Tyrone family can give birth to 12 children. For me alone to be infertile is too incredible. I must find out if this body is truly unable to conceive. The old woman held Vermal's wrist tightly, her brow furrowed with distress. You are too thin. We must rearrange your diet. She gently shook Vermal, her tone brooking no argument. Your Majesty the Empress, from this day forward, you will have dessert between each of your 5 daily meals. Vermal leaned back, somewhat taken aback by this fervent intensity. The old woman's tone softened slightly. Aside from being underweight, there is nothing wrong with you. I will inform the head chef immediately. Vermal's eyes flickered. She stopped her. Wait. So, Vermal let out an embarrassed little laugh. What I'm worried about is infertility. The old woman's expression froze, a grim thought crossing her mind. Could it be that His Majesty has already arranged for a concubine? How could our emperor be such a despicable person? Vermal saw her misunderstanding and gently explained, it's not like that. I just thought I should find out in advance, which is why I specifically called for you. Her gaze became serious. This matter of succession is a major issue, after all. The old woman became instantly emotional, grabbing Vermal's hand in return. Your Majesty the Empress, you need not worry about this. You are in excellent health, just like the queens of Tyrone for generations. You could even bear 20 children. She confirmed in a low voice. So, there's no problem with fertility, right? Vermal took a deep breath and asked the question that lay deepest in her heart. Then, is consummation also possible? The old woman gave a reassuring smile, warm and firm. Yes, absolutely. She added with a hint of humor, as long as you don't engage in strenuous activities like tormenting Sir Guys, there will be absolutely no problem. Having received a definite answer, a great weight was lifted from Vermal's heart. All her anxiety and restlessness subsided. The old woman smiled and turned to instruct a servant. Go and prepare the dessert. Vermal's eyes sharpened. In that case, why did I miscarry? A sharp pain shot through her head. Vermal pressed her temples. Whenever she tried to recall that day, her head would ache. The old woman's expression was sorrowful, and it had to happen when I was away. I am so sorry. Vermal looked up. That's right. You weren't present at the time, were you? The old woman bowed her head. I was sent away on His Majesty's orders. Please forgive me for the suffering you endured. Pavin again. Thoughts churned in her mind, sending away the obstetric specialist while she was pregnant with her first child. And on that very day, the healthy Vermal collapsed. But for the emperor, producing an heir was supposed to be of the utmost importance. Vermal's tone softened. It was His Majesty's order. What would you have done? It's all right. The old woman was still full of apology. I am truly very sorry. But Vermal's thoughts didn't stop. Something still didn't add up. It wasn't wasn't enough for me to directly suspect Pavin. She needed to find the answers herself. The old woman stood up. Then, I shall take my leave. Vermal called out to a maid. Emily. The maid Emily stepped forward in response. Yes, Your Majesty the Empress. Vermal sat up straight, her gaze fixed ahead. Where's the most crowded place in the palace? She added, including both nobles and servants. Emily thought for a moment before answering. Aside from the banquet hall, it would be the kitchen where meals for banquets and daily life are prepared. It's always the most crowded place there. Emily placed a finger on her chin, lost in thought. Then it should be about lunchtime now. A hint of cunning flashed in Vermal's eyes. She smiled and ordered, "Go to the kitchen. Spread the news that my personal physician has arrived." Vermal lightly covered the smile on her lips with her hand, her voice soft, yet carrying an unmistakable command. Be sure to emphasize that she is a specialist in complex gynecological issues. No matter what, I must strike first before the blame falls on me. Just you wait, Pavin. Let's see what happens to your reputation. Within the palace walls, rumors spread quietly like the wind. Two maids huddled together, whispering. Did you hear? About the Empress. The other lowered her voice. They say she summoned a physician specializing in women's diseases. Her eyes glinted with cunning. Could Her Majesty the Empress really be infertile? A black-haired woman sneered. So what? This might be our chance to become the Emperor's concubine. The other was more concerned with the outcome. But did anyone hear the physician's diagnosis? What was it? In the garden pavilion, Vermal leisurely sipped her tea, letting those voices drift in the wind. Go on, speak up. A little louder. Emily approached with dessert, looking at Vermal's relaxed expression. Your Majesty the Empress, you seem to be in a very good mood today. Vermal put down her teacup, the corners of her eyes crinkling. Am I? Her gaze fell on the tray, and she was instantly captivated by the exquisite pastry. Oh, what is this dessert? An exquisite cake sat on the plate, adorned with strawberries and chocolate. Emily's voice sounded gentle. I'm very confident in my brownies. I wanted to prepare some for Your Majesty. Vermal's blue eyes lit up. She held her fork, somewhat lost in thought. This is absolutely perfect for a photo. Too bad I don't have a phone. Emily stood to the side, a warm smile on her face. They're too beautiful, so beautiful it feels ashamed to eat them. Vermal closed her eyes to savor it, the sweetness melting on her tongue. The taste is also delightful. Emily's voice was filled with relief. I'm so glad you like it. A glint of light flashed in Vermal's eyes. She had a good idea. Go and bring the invitations. Emily was a bit confused. Invitations? Does Your Majesty wish to host a party? Vermal's smile was gentle but firm. Yes, I can't enjoy such a delicacy all by myself, because food is more delicious when shared. Let's have a tea party. Her plan took shape in her mind. The tea party would only invite noble ladies who had no direct conflict with Vermal. As long as the invitations mentioned these delightful desserts, they would surely accept with pleasure. Vermal, dressed in a white gown, was ready for the tea party in the mirror. This dress is just right. An announcement came from outside the door. Your Majesty the Empress, His Majesty the Emperor has sent a gift. A maid walked in holding a wooden box. Vermal's brow furrowed slightly. A gift? A necklace adorned with purple flowers lay inside. She said, His Majesty said that since you're hosting a tea party, wearing this might be helpful. Vermal took the necklace. The taste is not bad. It's just a bit excessively pretty. The maid explained softly at her side. This was designed with a hyacinth theme. The flower language of the hyacinth is play. The maid added, His Majesty said that if you don't like this flower language, you can throw it away at any time. Vermal pondered. Does it mean to eat well and play well? For the sake of his sincerity, I'll wear it just this once. The tea party was held as scheduled. Vermal sat at the head of the long table, smiling as she welcomed the noble ladies who had arrived. I am so glad you all accepted my invitation. Great, they all came. Her heart was filled with satisfaction. Vermal's voice was gentle. I recently came across some delicious desserts, and it would be a shame to eat them alone. A lady responded, Thank you for your invitation, Your Majesty the Empress. Vermal's gaze turned to her. Thanks to you, I am well. It's your eldest son who entered the academy this year, isn't it? The lady was instantly moved. Oh my, you even remember. Vermal smiled faintly. I have great respect for you, so naturally I would remember these things. Emily walked in with a magnificent cake. Vermal spoke again. I invited you all here precisely to share these desserts with you. The ladies present let out a collective gasp, their eyes sparkling with anticipation. One lady exclaimed, "Goodness, I've eaten many rare desserts, but I've never seen one so beautiful." Another lady chimed in, "Even the inside of the cake has a rainbow-like hue. It's so lovely." Vermal smiled. "This gathering is also to make up for my negligence towards you all, and to help you forget my youthful indiscretions. Please, enjoy yourselves." A lady quickly waved her hand. "You're being too serious, Your Majesty the Empress." But Vermal shook her head candidly. "I am well aware of my reputation over the years. I did a lot of reflecting while I was ill." She raised a hand to lightly touch the corner of her eye. "I was too rebellious back then and didn't know how to handle my emotions. I unintentionally caused a lot of trouble for everyone. I started out as just a rebellious teenager." A lady immediately expressed her understanding. "I understand. Everyone goes through that phase." An older lady also spoke up. "My son once wrecked the entire stable and let all the prize horses run free." Another lady followed. "My second daughter broke into a dress shop and poured 300 servings of cream all over the gowns." Vermal's blue eyes widened. "Really? The standard for adolescence in this world is way too exaggerated." It seems inviting ladies with teenage children was extremely effective. She casually glanced down and only then noticed the necklace was shaped like a hyacinth. This symbolizes an apology. Her fingertips gently caressed the gem on her chest. White hyacinths mean play, and purple hyacinths mean apology. So that's what he meant when he said this necklace would be helpful. Vermal's gaze softened, and a trace of apology towards Pavin rose in her heart. She closed her eyes and spoke softly. "As an empress, I have not been dignified enough until now. But from now on, you all need not worry." She smiled, thinking, "Please spread the news that I'm not infertile." But that's enough. It's time to slowly get to the main point. Vermal's expression turned serious. "I have calmed down a lot recently, but I still have one major concern." A lady asked with concern, "I heard you summoned a gynecological specialist. Is it related to that?" Vermal gave a slightly embarrassed smile. "It's a bit difficult to talk about, but since you are all mothers, I will be frank. When you consummate your marriage, does it also end within 5 minutes?" The air instantly froze. The table full of noble ladies stiffened, as if time had stopped. Vermal's eyes dimmed. She gently caressed her lower abdomen. "As you all know, I have had a miscarriage before. I was worried about the issue of an heir, so I invited a doctor who specializes in gynecology. If I were unable to conceive, I was planning to ask His Majesty to take a concubine as soon as possible. But the doctor told me the exact opposite. I am incredibly healthy. He said that if I wanted to, I could even have more than 20 children. So that's why I invited you all today to seek advice from experienced ladies." One lady stood up excitedly. "Ask anything. I will tell you everything I know. Although it's very embarrassing, I wanted to talk about it with mothers who have actually raised children. Ladies, for marital relations to end in just 5 minutes, is that normal?" The air froze again. The ladies exchanged glances. 5 minutes? Vermal added in a small voice, "Yes. Sometimes it's even closer to 3 minutes." Two ladies began to whisper. "The vigorous emperor has this kind of problem? It doesn't seem like something the empress can control." Vermal once again wiped a tear from the corner of her eye. "But what do you all think? Is this really my fault?" A lady immediately comforted her. "Your Majesty, this is absolutely not your fault." Vermal's eyes welled up with tears. "It's not?" Another lady chimed in. "It's a difficult subject to discuss in detail, but it's definitely not your fault. Every man is different. 5 minutes is indeed." Vermal's face showed a relieved smile. "Thank you. Hearing your comfort makes me feel much better. I've been too ashamed to speak of it until now." The lady looked at her sympathetically. "You must have endured it alone for a long time. If you have any troubles in the future, please feel free to come to us." Vermal smiled brightly. "Thank you, ladies." But in her heart, she was sneering. The rumor about the emperor's performance has also been spread. Mission accomplished. In the future, if the emperor tries to execute me on the grounds of infertility, the backlash from the noble ladies will be immense. I might even be able to use this as a reason to proactively request a divorce. Divorce is a small matter. Preventing Gai's death is what's most important. Gai's endured the most of Vermal's cruelty, yet his loyalty never wavered. The Empire's strongest knight was always by his side. I can't let a person like that just die. Vermal's gaze sharpened. The one who kills Gai's is Zagrus Horton, the knight commander of a fallen kingdom. A man who harbors a deep hatred for the royal family. Vermal fell into thought. The problem is, Zagrus is almost impossible to track, and he's an aura user. She rested her chin on her hand. How am I supposed to stop someone strong enough to assassinate Guys? A thought flashed through her mind. Wait, Eunice. He appeared because of Guy's death. If I find him before Guys dies. Emily's voice interrupted her thoughts. Your Majesty, what should be done with the leftover cake? Vermal came back to her senses. There's some left? Then cut into small pieces and wrap it up nicely. I'm going to give it to His Majesty. She held a wrapped gift box. He did help me out, after fashion. I'll just consider this returning the favor. She walked forward, holding the gift. A figure in armor came into view. Vermal stopped in her tracks. Isn't that Sir Guys? The blonde knight turned around. He placed a hand on his chest and gave a knight salute. I am Guys, offering my greetings to Her Majesty the Empress. Guys asked, where are you going? Vermal replied, I was just on my way to see His Majesty. Guys bowed his head slightly. What a coincidence, so am I. Please allow me to escort you. The two walked side by side, the atmosphere suffocatingly awkward. This is so awkward. Why is it so quiet? As the Empress, do I have to be the one to break the ice? Vermal sighed softly. It seems there's no other choice. She began, Sir Guys. Guys looked at her. Yes, Your Majesty. Vermal opened the gift box. It's some cake. Would you like a piece? She picked up a small piece of cake and held it to Guys' lips. Open up. Guys' cheeks flushed slightly. Your Majesty. He hesitated. There are no carrots in it, are there? Vermal's voice became firm. No. Hurry up and try it. This is an order. Lower your head a little. He obediently lowered his head. Vermal placed the cake in his mouth. Guys chewed, a look of surprise on his face. Vermal smiled and gently wiped the cake crumbs from the corner of his mouth with a fingertip. Well, is it good? A faint smile appeared on Guys' face. Yes, it's very delicious. Vermal pulled her hand back, smiling as she held the gift box. I'd like to give you more, but the rest is for His Majesty. Let's go. Guys followed behind her, thinking to himself, the Empress has really changed for the better. The Emperor sat behind his desk, asking without looking up, how was the gathering with the ladies? Vermal replied with a smile. They were all very kind and loving. I had a great time, although I did drop a bombshell on them before they left. The Emperor spoke. Hold your next gathering at the Rose Palace. It's especially beautiful there this season. Vermal was a little surprised. The Emperor himself brought up the Rose Palace. It was once Vermal's favorite place, but after her endless scandals, he had forbidden her from entering it. A tea party at the Rose Palace? That would be wonderful. Vermal smiled. Thank you. I'm sure the ladies will love it. The Emperor nodded, his fingers tapping lightly on the desk. He opened a box on the table. Inside the box was an exquisite key. Vermal's heart skipped a beat. The key to the Rose Palace. Is he saying I can go there whenever I want? The Emperor looked at her. You seem to be in a good mood today. Did you like the necklace I sent? Vermal replied, yes. The ladies all admired it. A smile played on the Emperor's lips. I was asking my wife, not the others. Vermal's expression stiffened slightly. It was useful. Why does he always say such embarrassing things? Vermal's eyes darkened. But I don't need it anymore, so I came to return it to you. Pavin was taken aback. What? What do you mean? Vermal steadied herself. Before that, there's something I want to ask. She looked directly into the Emperor's eyes. About the meaning of the purple hyacinth. Was that really the message Your Majesty wanted to convey to me? If it was meant as an apology, I am willing to let go of all resentment. The Emperor stood up and grabbed her wrist. Vermal said, stop. Please answer me properly. Vermal was pulled closer by him, her expression a little flustered. The Emperor looked down at her. What do you think it means? You can interpret it however you like. His other hand gently touched the necklace at her neck. Anger burned in Vermal's eyes. She forcefully pushed him away. The gift box slipped from her hand. Her hand tightly gripped the necklace on her chest, her gaze cold and resolute. The air froze. The Emperor's heart skipped a beat. He stared at her, his face filled with shock and confusion. So, Your Majesty, you won't even be serious with me once? Your Majesty, can you be serious with me just once? The Emperor remained silent, just watching her quietly. Vermal was puzzled. Why isn't he angry this time? I don't understand where his line is. She took a deep breath. It doesn't matter. You said I could do whatever I want with it, but it's fine to throw it away, right? Hold out your hand. I'm going to give this to you. She plucked a purple flower from the necklace and forcefully pressed it into his palm. The Emperor looked at the ornament in his hand and asked, giving me only the purple ornament, does that mean you don't accept my apology? Or is there something you need to apologize to me for? Vermal's face flushed slightly. There's nothing like that. I just spread rumors about Your Majesty. Don't make me feel guilty. She averted her gaze. It's just because I don't like purple flowers, so I'm giving it to you. The Emperor looked at the ornament in his hand. Is that so? If you don't want it, just throw it away. I don't mind. Vermal plucked another white flower from the necklace. The white hyacinth means to eat well and be full of surprises, right? I'll just take this one. Well then, I'll take my leave. She turned to leave. The Emperor's voice sounded behind her. Vermal, from now on, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't send these kinds of pointless gifts anymore. The Emperor was silent for a moment. Understood. After Vermal left, Guy spoke up. Empress, I'll escort you back to your chambers. The Empress gestured. It's fine. Guys looked at the Emperor. Empress, that matter was indeed worth being angry about. Preparing a gift with a hidden meaning is a nice gesture, but you knew that wasn't what the Empress wanted, didn't you? The Emperor looked at the ornament in his hand and asked Guys, does this mean she's going to apologize to me? Guys was a bit confused. The Empress just said she doesn't like purple flowers. Pavin said, but she still went to the trouble of wrapping up the dessert and bringing it to me. Guys fell into thought. That's true. If she could interpret it however she wanted, why did she still come and ask me? The Emperor looked at the gift box. The old Vermal would get angry for completely incomprehensible reasons. But now, even when she's angry, the reason has become understandable. And this gift, isn't it also her way of wanting me to eat something nice? Vermal has indeed changed. Guys looked at the Emperor's expression. The Empress has changed, but you seem to be looking at the situation too optimistically. The Emperor's smile faded. What were the results of the investigation into the villa maids? Guys reported immediately. I was just about to report to you. As you suspected, the order was altered en route. A cold, icy glint flashed in the Emperor's eyes. Emily walked in with a bottle of wine. Empress, I was just on my way to get you. You came back on your own. Vermal smiled. It's fine. Is anything amiss? Emily replied. The ladies who attended the tea party sent a bottle of rose wine as a gift. Rose wine? That's Vermal's favorite wine. A smile appeared on Vermal's face. What nice gift. But before I drink, I need to wash up and change into some comfortable clothes. I've been busy all day, and my whole body is tired. Emily responded immediately. Yes, Empress. I'll go prepare for you right away. Vermal changed into a nightgown and lay comfortably on the bed, holding a glass of rose wine. Lying comfortably in bed, drinking my favorite wine. This is heaven. She looked at the white flower ornament in her hand, recalling the Emperor's words. Is there something you need to apologize to me for? It's probably because he's a sword master that his intuition is so sharp. But strange. I don't remember that night I spent with the Emperor. Perhaps Vermal herself didn't want to remember. Vermal shook her head. Emily, pour me another glass. Emily picked up the wine bottle. Of course. Your Majesty. Vermal watched the red wine being poured into her glass. That's right. What's important now isn't something like spending a night with the Emperor. It's saving Guy's life and my own. To do that, finding Eunice is a good idea. He is directly related to both Guy's death and my own. I must keep him within my sight. It seems someone altered your Majesty's order and also silenced the villa maids. Have you found out who it was? Guys reported those maids originally worked in the palace kitchen. They specifically volunteered to go to the Empress's villa, which no one wanted to go to. A large sum of money was also found to have been exchanged between them. The Emperor's voice carried a chill. A large sum of money. They were instigated by that person, weren't they? Guys nodded. Yes. The one who paid the maids a huge sum and altered your Majesty's order was one of the maids the Empress drove away. Perhaps one or two. The Emperor replied, do you remember that maid? The one who tripped on the Empress's hem and was forced onto a horse. The one who even set fire to the horse's tail. Wasn't she eventually found to have sticky fingers? Jisa added, that's right. She stole the Empress's jewels. Jisa continued, that maid was the youngest daughter of Count Deliana. It seems her parents wanted to avenge their daughter. The Emperor's fingers tapped his knuckles on the table. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead, his knuckles white from the pressure. The Emperor's fingers stopped. His voice was icy. To dare alter an imperial command to harm the Empress. Truly audacious. His voice was soft, yet carried an undeniable air of authority. Go to the Deliana estate at once. Investigate every speck of dust. Vermal swirled the wine in her glass, saying, this wine tastes quite good. A voice came from outside the door. The maid, Emily, approached and said, your Majesty, the Empress, forgive my intrusion. Vermal looked at her and asked, it's you, Emily. What is it? Emily bowed slightly, saying, the Emperor's chamberlain has arrived. He says he has an important matter to discuss. Vermal frowned and asked, the Emperor's chamberlain? What's he doing here? Emily replied, they said there are matters of state to discuss. Vermal thought, matters of state. As the Empress, I should be involved, but I just swore to live a life of leisure. So soon? A thought flashed through her mind. A glint appeared in her eyes. She put down her wine glass and said, Emily, put the wine away. Bring me some white powder and an onion. A moment later, The chamberlain stood before her bed, saying with a serious expression, "Now that your majesty the empress has returned to the palace, you should begin handling state affairs." The chamberlain walked closer, calling out softly, "Your majesty the empress." Vermal slowly opened her eyes. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes were red-rimmed, and her lips were pale from the white powder. In a weak voice, she said, "My apologies. I just returned from the villa. I'm still feeling a bit unwell." The chamberlain studied her carefully, saying, "I heard you fainted on the day you returned. It seems you haven't fully recovered yet." He bowed slightly, then continued, "You had best rest a while longer." Vermal relaxed inwardly, thinking the plan worked. A faint, imperceptible smile touched her lips. "Thank you for your understanding." Footsteps sounded steady and powerful, carrying an aura that permitted no argument. The physicians followed him in. The physicians said in unison, "We will conduct a thorough examination for your majesty." Vermal tried to refuse. "That's not necessary. I just need a rest." The chamberlain interrupted her, saying, "But his majesty previously gave an order. If the empress is unwell, the imperial physicians must be summoned immediately, no matter where she is." Vermal thought, what a tedious order. The imperial physician's fingers rested on her wrist. She thought, oh no, what if they find out I'm faking it? The imperial physician's expression froze instantly. Fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He thought, I absolutely cannot tell the truth. There was only one thought in his mind. He took a deep breath and gave an absurd diagnosis: amnesia. The imperial physician turned to the lady-in-waiting beside him, saying, "You need to rest more and pay attention to a balanced diet." She quirked her lips, thinking, is this guy's medical license even real? The imperial physician continued, "Although it's not very serious, you should remain in bed and rest. Do not go out for walks. Your meals will be brought to your chambers." She gave a perfectly measured smile, saying, "Thank you for your concern." The imperial physicians turned and said, "Then we will take our leave." The room returned to silence. She gently placed a hand over her heart. They said Vermal was mentally and physically exhausted and had depression. A maid entered and said, "Your Majesty, what should be done with this wine?" Vermal looked around and asked, "Where's Emily?" The maid wrung her hands, saying, "Emily has gone to the imperial kitchen, unless you dislike my service." That cautious fear made Vermal's heart sink. She thought, is she afraid I'll take out my depression on her? Has my life really come to this? When will my reputation ever improve? Her soft sigh nearly made the maid drop to her knees in fear. She could only hope the noble ladies would spread the gossip quickly. In another palace, Parvin's voice was devoid of any warmth. According to the investigation, the Deliana family, bring me everything that can be used against them. Jisa lowered his eyes, respectfully replying, "I understand." Parvin sat at his desk, the candlelight flickering. He pressed his fingertips together and let out a soft sigh. A knock on the door pulled Parvin from his thoughts. "Come in." The chamberlain entered the room and said, "Your Majesty, the imperial physicians have finished examining Her Majesty the Empress." Parvin looked up at the chamberlain, puzzled. "Examined her? She's unwell, isn't she?" The chamberlain lowered his eyes, saying, "Your Majesty, it would be best if you heard it from the imperial physician yourself." The imperial physician was led in. He set down his medicine box and bowed respectfully. "Greetings to the son of the empire." The emperor's gaze fell upon the imperial physician. He asked, "Well, what are the results?" The imperial physician's eyes flickered. "Well, in Her Majesty the Empress's body, we found traces of poison." The air instantly froze. Parvin's eyes turned icy, betraying almost no emotion. Parvin's lips pressed into a thin line. He said in a low voice, "Explain in detail." The imperial physician continued his report. "It seems she has been poisoned for a long time. Because Her Majesty the Empress has an unusual constitution, her body detoxified itself, leaving almost no trace." Parvin's voice was flat. "Wasn't she examined after losing the first child?" The imperial physician replied, "We never conducted a detailed examination." The imperial physician presented a document, saying, "This is our analysis." Parvin took the document, his eyes scanning the paper. He said, "When do you estimate the poisoning occurred?" The imperial physician said with his hands lowered, "Approximately 3 years ago." More importantly, the poison itself is a toxin commonly used by the Fallen Kingdom. 3 years ago, May held a bitter hatred for me. That hatred was like a wildfire that burned everything. She even went so far as to secretly fund those rebels who were crushed by the Empire. A trace of bitterness passed through his heart. Is May still thinking of that man? The imperial physician continued. However, it seems she was only poisoned once. The perpetrator probably gave up after discovering it was ineffective. The Emperor's fingertips lightly touched his jaw. He said, "That's right. The Taelan bloodline is immune to poison." "What did you tell the Empress?" The imperial physician lowered his hands and said, "We told her for now that she has amnesia." The Emperor said, "Very good. The truth would only add to her troubles. There's no need for her to know that the rebels she once funded betrayed her." Night enveloped the small town. All was silent. A figure crossed the stone-paved road. A cloak concealed their face. Their steps hurried. In the shadows, another person was already waiting. A hoarse voice spoke. "So you're saying only he survived?" The traveler spoke. "The maids from your villa have all been exiled from the Empire." The lips under the cloak curled up. "Then your decision is all the more critical. Do you understand?" The traveler replied respectfully, "Of course, Your Majesty." At a tea party in the garden, the rumor spread quietly. "I hear Her Majesty the Empress is unwell." A young lady asked with concern, "How are you feeling now?" Vermal showed a perfect smile. "Thank you for your concern. I'm much better now." An invisible net was quietly tightening. "Don't worry. The Empress will soon bring about her own destruction." Emily approached with a tray, saying, "I brought your breakfast, Empress." Vermal sat alone at the end of a long table, a spread of food before her. Vermal picked up her fork and tasted a bite from her plate. She looked up at the maid and said, "This is delicious. Did you make all of this?" Emily bowed slightly and said, "Yes, Empress." Vermal gave an approving smile. "Your skills are getting better and better. Thanks to you, I always get to eat delicious food." A blush appeared on Emily's face. She said, "You always praise me. I'm even more grateful." She then remembered something and said, "By the way, Your Majesty the Empress, Countess Helena, will be visiting today." Vermal nodded and said, "I see. Prepare for her arrival." Vermal stared at Emily's hands and asked, "Emily, what happened to your hands?" Emily said, "I hurt them accidentally while moving furniture." Vermal's brow furrowed slightly. She reached out and took Emily's hand, thinking, "Is the injury this bad? Did you move it by yourself?" Vermal released her hand, turned to the side of the table, and picked up a gorgeous little bottle. "Emily, I'm giving this to you. It's a bottle of rose essential oil. It will help if you apply it to your hands." Emily's eyes widened. She said, "What? Giving something so precious to me?" Vermal looked at her gently and said, "Aren't you more precious than this oil?" An irrepressible smile spread across Emily's face. She said, "Yes. Thank you for everything, Your Majesty." Countess Helena entered the room and curtsied, saying, "Your Majesty the Empress, it has been a long time." She was dressed in a magnificent purple gown, her posture elegant. Vermal sat in her chair, calmly responding, "Countess." Vermal thought, "I don't remember her at all. Was she one of the old Vermal's people?" Countess Helena said, "Thank you for granting me the opportunity for an audience." She looked up with a smile and said, "Empress, it has been some time since we last met. I brought you some gifts." The Countess clapped her hands lightly. "Children, bring the things in." Servants carried in several ornate chests. The lids were opened, revealing them to be filled with gold and jewels. Countess Helena said, "I didn't know what you would like, so I prepared many different kinds." Vermal smiled and said, "Thank you for your thoughtfulness." She thought, it seems she and Vermal had a good relationship. Vermal turned to the maid beside her and said, "Emily, bring one of the gifts to me." Emily replied, "Yes, Empress." Emily walked toward the pile of gifts and reached out to pick up one of the boxes. A sharp crack. The Countess's fan struck the back of Emily's hand heavily. The Countess roared, "How rude! How dare a mere maid touch these things?" Vermal's eyes instantly turned cold. Emily trembled in fear, quickly saying, "I'm sorry." Vermal's voice rang out, "Lady Helena, what do you think you're doing in front of me?" Countess Helena fanned her face, saying, "This maid was trying to steal something. I was merely protecting the Empress's gifts." Vermal said, "She wasn't stealing. She was just bringing a gift to me." The Countess feigned surprise. "Oh, I would never have thought. Such a task should be done by a dedicated lady-in-waiting." Vermal replied, coolly, "Emily has been acting in that capacity." The Countess chuckled lightly and said, My, is it because no noble lady is willing to serve you? It must be so trying for you to have a maid fill the role. Vermal thought. The implication is clear. The Empress's ladies-in-waiting must be of noble birth. Having no noble lady in this position means I'm isolated. She brought this up deliberately to provoke me. Vermal suddenly smiled, saying, "Thank you for your concern, but I don't find it troublesome at all." Countess Helena's smile widened. "That must be because you've never experienced true service. Shall I introduce an excellent young lady to you? I especially recommend one who dances very well. If you practice with her, you won't fall again." Vermal's hand, resting on her lap, suddenly clenched. She thought this woman is insane. Vermal propped up her chin, her smile becoming bewitching and cold. "It seems you didn't understand when I said I wasn't troubled." Vermal's smile vanished. She said, "I'm tired. Countess, you may leave." The smug look on Countess Helena's face froze. "I haven't even had a cup of tea yet." A cold light glinted in Vermal's blue eyes. "Everyone who works in the Empress's palace is my hands and feet. How can I treat someone who looks down on me with the courtesy due a guest? At best, you are an uninvited one." A shadow crossed Countess Helena's face. She quickly forced a smile, saying, "Perhaps my loyalty to your majesty was a bit excessive." She gave an elegant curtsy. "Please forgive me with your magnanimity. Then I shall take my leave." Vermal's shoulders slumped. She closed her eyes, thinking, being an empress really isn't easy. Emily hurried to her side. "Empress, I'm sorry. It's all because of me." Vermal opened her eyes and looked at her gently, saying, "No, your hand is already injured. It must hurt a lot." Emily shook her head and said, "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. But what should be done with those gifts?" Vermal's gaze swept over the pile of jewels. She said, "Throw them away. I don't want to see them again." She was so rude to the Empress. The gifts surely can't be anything good. Besides, I have no memory of this person. It feels suspicious. A few days later, Vermal lifted her teacup and asked, "Where's Emily?" A maid stepped forward, saying she went to assist with work in the main palace. Vermal put down her teacup, puzzled. "The main palace?" The maid replied respectfully, "Emily was originally a staff member of the imperial kitchen. Whenever she is summoned, she must return to the main palace immediately." Vermal said, "Even though she's my maid now, she's not considered part of the Empress's palace?" The maid asked, "Shall I investigate the reason?" Vermal thought, "Everyone knows Emily is my maid, yet her position is still in the main palace. This means someone is looking down on me." Ever since Parvin tripped Vermal at the ball, many nobles have started to test me. To them, an empress who has lost the emperor's favor is not to be feared. I can't let this continue. A flame ignited in Vermal's eyes, and determination solidified in her heart. Vermal said in a low voice, "Summon the head maid. I want to speak with her personally." In the kitchen, several maids were chatting idly. "I heard the Empress has been meeting with noble ladies recently, trying every way to survive." Another chimed in, "But I heard she's different from before. Still, she's pulling the strings of an old hag behind the scenes. That's why no noble lady is willing to be her lady-in-waiting, right? That's why she keeps a commoner maid by her side, treating her as one of her own." The blonde maid crossed her arms, a contemptuous smile on her lips. She said, "Right? The lowly old witch." The maids beside her snickered in agreement. The atmosphere turned cold and sharp. The blonde maid approached Emily. "How can you stick so close to that empress who tormented us? I'm so disappointed in you." Emily lowered her eyes, remaining silent. The blonde maid pointed to the mountain of dishes piled nearby. "You're not leaving here until you've washed all of these." She leaned against the wall with her arms crossed, a provocative look on her face. "If you're not happy about it, go and complain to the Empress." Emily slowly raised her head. There were no tears in her eyes, only a stubborn, cold glint. The blonde maid's smile froze. "What's with that insolent look?" With a sharp crack, she slammed the teacup in her hand onto the floor. The porcelain shattered into pieces. The blonde maid stepped closer, saying, "How dare you look a senior like that? It seems you need more education." She looked down at Emily, her voice filled with threat. "To survive in the palace, you have to pick a side, Emily. That means you should be on our side, not serving a hollow empress." Emily said coldly, "What did you just say?" The blonde maid sneered at Emily, saying, "Hey, Emily, snap out of it. Your master drove away all the maids from the villa. You think you're special? One day, you'll be cast aside just like them." Emily looked up and retorted, "There must have been a reason for that." The blonde maid roughly grabbed her hair, saying, "You haven't been in the palace long, so you probably don't know. If you had seen how vicious the Empress can be, you wouldn't say such things." Emily endured the pain. Even if she was like that before, the Empress now. The blonde maid shoved her violently to the ground. Are you still going to defend the Empress? Emily fell to the floor, and a delicate little bottle rolled out from her clothes. The blonde maid picked up the bottle. What's this? She actually has something nice. She uncorked the bottle and said, it's rose-scented oil. The other maids gathered around. Give me some too. Emily struggled to snatch it back. Get it back. Her Majesty the Empress gave that to me. The crisp sound of a slap echoed. Emily's head was knocked to the side, a red mark quickly appearing on her cheek. The blonde maid sneered. Liar. You think she would give something so high-class to a maid? You must have stolen this. She shook the bottle in her hand and said, don't worry, I won't tell the Empress. We'll make good use of this scented oil. Emily knelt on the floor, tears streaming silently down her face. The headmaid stood before Vermal, bowing slightly. What did you summon me for? Vermal sat in her chair, her expression calm. She said, regarding the kitchen maid you called away this morning, transfer her affiliation to the Empress's palace. The headmaid asked, you mean Emily, your Majesty? There is no need for you to trouble yourself over the affiliation of a mere maid. Vermal's eyes grew cold. I need that maid. The head maid presented a scroll of parchment. I believe your Majesty is in greater need of a properly educated lady-in-waiting, not a maid with no background. This is a list of candidates for lady-in-waiting. Vermal said, enough. I will handle my own ladies-in-waiting. The headmaid did not back down. With all due respect, your Majesty is still recovering. I believe important decisions should be discussed with me. Vermal's gaze sharpened. She thought, in other words, you don't trust my judgment. When did it all start to go wrong? Ever since Vermal fell at the ball and secluded herself. Even the lowest-ranking servants in the Empire began to look down on her. They mocked her for being easy to bully because she had no backing, and they ignored her because she was weak. It's the same situation here. I couldn't do it in my past life. Vermal's hands clenched quietly at her sides. But here, I can charge forward like a mad dog. Vermal's voice was calm, but carried a cold edge. Have you forgotten? Your master is of the Taylan bloodline. Or have you forgotten what kind of constitution the Taylan are born with? The headmaid's face instantly paled. I would not forget. I just heard you were gravely ill at the villa. Vermal propped up her chin, a slight smile on her face. Then how do I look? Do I look ill? Cold sweat beaded on the maid's forehead. No, not really. It was just a precaution. Vermal's smile deepened. Then I'll show you myself. The headmaid's gaze fell on her neck. Your Majesty, your necklace is of high-quality pearls. Vermal's fingers touched the pearl necklace as she spoke. So, a crisp cracking sound. She smiled as she crushed the necklace with her bare hands. The pearl dust slipped through her fingers. Vermal's eyes were icy. Do I still look like a patient now? The headmaid trembled with fear. Vermal continued, I will not pursue the crime of you insulting me. The headmaid lowered her head. I apologize. Your Majesty. Vermal crossed her arms and said, I told you, I will handle my own ladies-in-waiting. Don't meddle. I will bring Emily in as a lady-in-waiting. The headmaid looked up, saying, bringing a maid in as a lady-in-waiting requires His Majesty the Emperor's permission. Vermal said, without hesitation, then go ask him. The headmaid stood frozen. Vermal said, are you going to stand there like an idiot? The headmaid bowed deeply and said, as you command. Vermal thought, if I give these people an inch, they'll climb all over me. I need to obtain real power. Not this kind of power that relies only on threats, but true power that makes people obey willingly. The door opened, and Emily walked in. Vermal immediately stood up and asked, Emily, what happened to you? The headmaid explained, I don't know the reason, but she was crying alone in the kitchen in this state. Also, I have already reported to His Majesty the Emperor that you wish to make Emily a lady-in-waiting. Vermal held Emily's shoulders and asked, Emily, are you all right? Emily said, I'm sorry. Emperor Parvin sat at his desk, listening to the headmaid's report. That maid is a lady-in-waiting? The headmaid replied, yes. With your Majesty's permission, it is possible, but it is an unprecedented matter. I worry it will damage the customs of the imperial family. Parvin's eyes sharpened. He said, so, you want me to refuse the Empress's command on your behalf? The headmaid hastily explained, what? That's not what I meant. Parvin cut her off. Just as you said, it's possible with my permission. I permit that maid to become a lady-in-waiting. He propped up his chin, looking thoughtful. However, it wouldn't be right if I didn't go and see her myself. The headmaid said in a low voice, therefore, he will be heading to the Empress's palace soon. Vermal looked at Emily's hands and asked, "What happened to your hands? Was the scented oil I gave you not useful?" Emily lowered her head, her voice full of guilt. "I lost the precious item. I'm sorry." Vermal's voice was gentle but firm. "It's all right. I'll just buy you another bottle." She gently hugged Emily, but her eyes drifted to the two other maids standing aside. She thought, they seem to have something to say about this. Vermal released Emily, her expression turning serious. "Emily, go back to your room and rest first." After Emily left, the door closed softly. Vermal turned to face the two maids. Her voice was calm, but left no room for argument. "You two know something, don't you? Tell me everything, down to the last detail." The maids exchanged a look. One of them mustered her courage. "Your Majesty, the truth of the matter is..." The scene changes. The blonde maid looked at the empty corner. "What? Where did Emily go?" The maid next to her suggested slyly. "This is even better. Let's go tell the head maid she can't even handle the task she's given. We might as well get her kicked out." "That's a good idea." A voice laced with amusement came from the doorway. "Is that really such a good idea?" Vermal was leaning against the doorframe, her arms crossed. The maids were scared out of their wits. "Why, Your Majesty?" Vermal's smile grew wider, but her eyes were ice cold. "I heard a very interesting story." She slowly walked into the kitchen, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "Shall I tell it to you in detail?" Vermal had a smile on her face, but her eyes were like chipped ice. "I'm here to find my scented oil. It was stolen." The blonde maid said, "You mean the rose-scented oil? I saw Emily with it. That girl must have stolen it." A sharp slap echoed through the kitchen. Fury burned in Vermal's eyes. Vermal said coldly, "It was indeed a gift I gave to Emily. But didn't Emily say she lost it?" Her cheek is swollen as if she was slapped somewhere. Her voice was devoid of any warmth. "Tell me the truth. You bullied Emily and stole her things, didn't you?" A short while ago in Vermal's room, a maid reported to Vermal, "The maids of the main palace are ignoring us." Vermal frowned and said, "What? They dare to ignore the Empress's maids?" The maids lower their heads. "Many people in the palace are speaking ill of you, so we've been implicated as well." Vermal's heart sank. She thought, because of me, the innocent maids are being ignored too? The maid continued, "Especially Emily. She was originally from the kitchen and seems to have been severely bullied there." Vermal thought of her own leisurely life. "While I was enjoying myself, Emily was going through such suffering." A sliver of guilt quietly grew. Am I really any different from the old Vermal? Vermal's eyes dimmed, then became resolute again. She stood up and said, "Lead the way." The maids looked at each other. Vermal's back was determined. "Take me to the main palace kitchen. I must find those thieves." The head maid hurried forward and said, "But His Majesty the Emperor will be here soon." Vermal turned back, her eyes cold as she said, "So?" The head maid lowered her head and said, "I believe greeting His Majesty first is the proper etiquette." Vermal's voice held a trace of impatience. "If etiquette is so important, then tell him again. Tell him to come to the kitchen." The head maid shouted, "How can you make His Majesty come to a kitchen? You shouldn't do this." Empress Vermal thought, what does it matter if Parvin comes or not? Protecting my people is the top priority right now. Vermal looked at the silent maids and said, "No answer." "It seems it's true then. Everyone who works for the Empress is my property. Since you've touched my people, there must be a good reason, right? I will investigate all of you thoroughly. You must know that anyone who dares to covet imperial property will have their wrists cut off. If there is no just cause, I will cut off your wrists after the investigation." The maids fell to their knees in terror, crying out, "Empress, I have committed a crime worthy of death." The maids wailed, "Please spare us." Vermal's eyes were cold. She thought, should I just scare them a little first? Unlike before, I need to manage my image now. A low voice came from behind. "Empress." Vermal turned around. Parvin was standing there, his expression cold. Parvin really came to the kitchen. Parvin's gaze swept over the kneeling maids. "I've heard the general situation." He turned to Vermal. "I will handle things from here. You should return to your palace first." A flash of astonishment crossed Vermal's eyes. "What did you say? The supreme son of the Empire is going to personally handle the punishment of a mere maid?" Vermal thought, if I leave the punishment to Parvin, it might just be dropped. Vermal said, "These people dared to covet my property and harm my maid. This happened within my own domain. I will deal with it myself." Parvin looked at her and said, "I know what the Empress is worried about. What you're worried about will not happen. So trust me." Parvin turned to the side and said, "Jisa." Jisa appeared and responded, "Yes, Your Majesty. Parvin's command was cold and decisive. Take them all to the interrogation room. I will handle this personally. In the original story, Parvin always treated Mabel as the perpetrator. But this time, something was different. Parvin's voice was low and powerful. I will thoroughly investigate the reason they stole your things. And then I will tell you. Vermal added, they also bullied the maid who served me diligently. Parvin turned his head to look at her and said, the maid you want to promote to lady-in-waiting? Vermal met his gaze and said, yes. She is a girl I cherish very much. Parvin's expression flickered slightly. He thought, someone cherished by Vermal. This is an unfamiliar combination. Parvin turned around and said, I will let them know what happens when you mess with the imperial family. He left the kitchen, leaving Vermal alone. The weight of his words still lingered in the air. Vermal returned to her room. A maid came to report. Empress, this is Jisa. Jisa bowed slightly and said, according to the investigation, everyone pointed to one maid. It seems the slander started with her. Vermal asked, what was her reason? Jisa said, that maid had long been dissatisfied with the Empress. But most importantly, she said she was instigated by Countess Helena. Vermal's movements paused. Countess Helena? Jisa continued, yes. Do you remember an incident from a while ago? A lady-in-waiting was tied to a horse, and the horse's tail was set on fire. Vermal's expression grew complicated. She thought, of course I remember. That lady-in-waiting was kicked out, officially for stepping on Vermal's dress. But the real reason was that she was a thief. Every time she helped Mabel change, a piece of jewelry or two would go missing. So as she went to Parvin, a past scene replayed in her mind. Vermal's voice trembled slightly. It's true. I don't even know how much jewelry is missing. What lady-in-waiting would dare to lay a hand on the imperial family's treasures? Parvin stood with his back to the window, his tone flat as he said, you must be mistaken. Fury ignited in Vermal's eyes. Are you saying you don't believe me? Parvin turned around and said, to me, it sounds like the Empress simply wants new jewels and is making up a flimsy excuse. Vermal's smile was cold and twisted. Vermal snapped back to the present. What does that incident have to do with this one? Jisa explained, the lady-in-waiting who was kicked out back then was Countess Helena's daughter. Vermal was puzzled. Her daughter? Did the Countess know about her daughter's crimes? Jisa shook his head. No, she didn't know. The Countess is currently being held in the underground prison. Everything clicked into place. Vermal thought, I see. That's why she used the matter with Emily to attack me at the tea party. Vermal's eyes lit up. Wait, if I use this skillfully, it could become my advantage. Her hand tapped lightly on the table. She said, please take me to the underground prison. I must see her now. They descended the cold, damp steps. Jisa said, we've locked the Countess in the lowest level of the prison. Vermal said that deep. Jisa's voice echoed in the corridor. It was His Majesty's order. Insulting the imperial family is a grave crime. After the iron door opened, the Countess was hanging by iron chains, kneeling on the cold ground. Her clothes were tattered, and she was in a wretched state. Vermal gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. The sight before her was shocking. Countess Helena looked up. There were no tears in her eyes, only the dead gray of ashes. Vermal turned her head and said, Sir Jisa, please release the lady. Jisa's face was filled with worry. She might attack your majesty. Vermal's tone was calm. With Sir Jisa here, what is there to worry about? Besides, she doesn't look strong enough to pose a threat. Vermal's gaze was firm and gentle. Trust me, Sir Jisa. Jisa hesitated for a moment, but ultimately chose to obey. The iron chains fell with a heavy, echoing thud. Vermal called out softly, Lady Helena. She walked over to the weakened Countess and slowly knelt down. She continued, if this goes on, your life will be in danger, my lady. Countess Helena looked up, her eyes filled with a venomous hatred. I don't care. I have no regrets for what I've done. I was separated from my beloved daughter, all because of the Empress's whim. A hint of sympathy appeared in Vermal's eyes. I understand your anger, my lady. The pain of losing a daughter must be unbearable. Her voice suddenly sharpened. But did you know? Your daughter stole my jewels. Countess Helena's head snapped up, her eyes wide with disbelief. What? That's impossible. My daughter would never. She grabbed Vermal's sleeve, her voice hoarse and frantic. Show me the proof. Don't you dare insult her name. Vermal calmly retorted, didn't you notice? The amount of jewelry in your house suddenly increased. Think carefully. I'm helping you. With just one word from His Majesty, soldiers could search your estate. If the Imperial Guard raids your family, your honor will be destroyed. Countess Helena covered her face with her hands, despair shattering her last line of defense. Every time my daughter came home, she brought countless jewels. I asked her where they came from, and she said it was payment for her service. Vermal said, "But those were not gifts from me. Your daughter stole them." Countess Helena's face twisted in agony. "I never thought my child would sink to such depths." Vermal stated, "The punishment is death. Your family will not be spared either." Countess Helena fell to her knees and said, "Empress, I was wrong. Please take my life as punishment. I beg you. Have mercy on my family." Vermal looked at her, a slight smile on her face. She said, "That's exactly my intention. Your punishment is 6 months of imprisonment." Jisoo was puzzled. She slandered the Empress and deserves no sympathy. Vermal's smile was confident and composed. "Don't worry, Sir Jisa. No one will dare to defy me. Right, my lady?" Countess Helena prostrated herself on the floor, saying, "Yes, yes. I will be forever grateful for the Empress's mercy." After the carriage left the palace, Parvin expelled all related personnel from the palace. He made it clear that anyone who angered the Empress would face merciless punishment. The scene changes. Vermal lifted her teacup and said, "This tea is so fragrant. The rumors about the merciful Empress have already started to spread, haven't they?" "Everything is going as I expected." Emily ran in hastily, her footsteps breaking the silence. "Your Majesty, something terrible has happened." Vermal had a lazy smile on her face. "Emily, what could possibly happen in such a short time?" Emily handed her a newspaper. "Please look at today's paper." Vermal took the paper and said, "Let me see." The newspaper headline blared, "The Empress. Can her honor be restored?" The imperial couple, though married young, have yet to produce an heir. The first child she was finally blessed with was soon miscarried. However, miscarriage is not uncommon in early pregnancy. Empress Vermal quickly recovered her health. The Empress, who possesses the powerful Taelan bloodline, is believed to have no issues with fertility. In other words, the problem lies not with her, but with the Emperor. Among the noble ladies of the court, there are even rumors of the Emperor's rabbit. A delighted smile appeared on Vermal's face. "Oh, what an interesting article." Emily's face was full of worry. She said, "Who would dare spread such baseless talk? They must be caught at once to restore the Emperor's honor." Vermal thought, "To be honest, I don't know who had the guts to do this. But if I did, I might give him a kiss." Vermal said aloud, "What a shame. Since it's already been printed, there's nothing to be done." Emily worried, "But His Majesty the Emperor's dignity." Vermal waved her hand dismissively, saying, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." She thought, "This rumor will only win me sympathy. Now we'll see how Parvin reacts. Will he tear up the newspaper, or will he tear me apart?" A strange sense of unease washed over her. Vermal held her teacup. "Maybe I should go out today, just in case." Vermal turned to Emily and said, "Emily, I'd like to go into the city today." Emily's face was filled with concern. "Are you sure, Your Majesty? You haven't fully recovered yet." Vermal smiled and said, "Even the newspaper says I'm a healthy Taelan. Since that's the case, maybe we can go check out the new dress shop." A servant approached with quick steps. "Your Majesty the Empress. His Majesty requests your presence for lunch." Vermal froze for a moment, thinking I was just about to sneak into the city, and he caught me first. Vermal collected her thoughts and said, "Very well. I will prepare at once." The two sat opposite each other at a long dining table in silence. Vermal thought, "I've never had such an awkward meal. He called me here, but hasn't said a single word." A helpless curve formed on Vermal's lips. She thought, "Well, at least I can eat in peace and enjoy the scenery." Parvin cut the steak on his plate, his movements elegant and slow. He finally spoke. "Empress, did you see today's newspaper?" Vermal's heart skipped a beat. She thought, "Here it comes." She said aloud, "The newspaper?" "Yes, I saw it." Parvin looked up, his voice flat. "Is that so?" "It wrote some insignificant, foolish things." Vermal's heart was in her throat. She thought, "He hasn't figured out I was behind it, has he?" She raised her wine glass to hide her inner turmoil, saying, "Indeed, whoever spread such a malicious rumor will be tracked down and punished." Parvin looked up and asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Vermal quickly regained her composure, saying, "The harsher the punishment, the more people will believe the rumor is true. Doesn't the Empire itself have more pressing issues?" Parvin stopped what he was doing and said, "Then, Empress, what are your thoughts on the current state of the Empire?" Vermal thought, "I successfully changed the subject." Vermal put down her knife and fork, saying, "For years, both the Empire and the neighboring countries have had good harvests. Territorial conflicts will inevitably arise. It's a good thing I remember this part of the novel." Parvin stood up and said, "It seems our views are one. I'll be leaving first. Take your time eating." Vermal stood up as well. Your Majesty, if I may, I strongly suggest you ignore that article. If he finds out it was me, I'll be executed on the spot. Parvin walked up to her and stopped. His hand rested lightly on the edge of the table. He leaned in and said, then tell me, Empress, what do you think? As for whether that article is true or false, you of all people would know best. His breath brushed against her cheek. The air seemed to freeze. Vermal's heart skipped a beat.